Ayan, good morning everyone. I am Aryan Pisibayan, your first reporter, and today I'll be presenting the historical background of field practice in psychology followed by current issues in counseling. So, let's begin with how the field of psychology evolved over time both globally and in the Philippine context. So, first of all, psychology did not start as science right away. It began with ancient traditions that were deeply spiritual and symbolic. During ancient traditions in early civilizations, mental and emotional struggles were often seen as spiritual concerns. So people sought healing in temples like dun sa temple ng Asclepius in ancient Greece. So these were sacred spaces where yung mga individuals mag-go doon, mag-undergo sa rituals, mag-rest, and even interpret dreams as a way para maintindihan nila yung kanilang sarili. In short, healing was holistic. Mind, body, and even spirit were treated as one. So next, kailan ang birth ng modern psychology? Tama, 1879. So fast forward to the late 19th century, psychology became a formal science when sino? Si Wilhelm Wundt opened the first psychology laboratory in Germany. So this marked a major shift from spiritual healing to scientific observation and experimentation. So, psychology was now seen as a discipline that could be studied. Studied? Ano studied? Psychology was now seen as a discipline that could be studied objectively. So, in early 20th century, ito na yung rise ng counseling and psychotherapy. During these times, thinkers like si Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung, and Alfred Adler developed theories and methods that laid the foundation for modern counseling. So, sa era na to, nag-focus sila sa pag-intindi ng ating unconscious mind, personal development, and the therapeutic relationship between counselor and the client. Sa Philippine context naman, psychology was developed or introduced through American style education during the early 1900s. So Western theories and methods were taught in universities, especially during the uh, American colonial period. However, yung mga approaches nito, hindi siya always nag-align sa Filipino values and lived experiences. So, with that being said, today, counseling has expanded to include telepsychology, telepsychology or online counseling and addresses multiple relationships like when a therapist or a counselor has more than one role sa buhay ng kanyang client. So, this reflects how counseling is adapting to modern realities, including technology, ethical boundaries, and complex social dynamics. Now look at this table. So this table shows how psychology evolved from spiritual healing to scientific study and eventually to culturally adapted practice. Like what I've said kanina, diba? Sa Philippines, nagsimula tayo sa Western models. Pero ngayon, ina-integrate na natin yung local wisdom through Psikolohiyang Filipino. So what is Psikolohiyang Filipino? It is a psychology that reflects our Filipino values, language, and community life. Now, let's move on to current issues in counseling. These anong issues? Anyway, it reflects how the field has changed and how it continues to respond to new challenges. Nabubulol na ako. Anyway, so ayun nga, like what I've said, nag-reflect siya kung paano nag-change yung field and paano siya mag-respond sa new challenges. So, from healing temples to ethical guidelines, di ba? Kasi dati, healing was based on rituals and spiritual beliefs. Ngayon, nag-follow na tayo sa ethical guidelines para ma-ensure na yung counseling natin is safe, respectful, and professional. For example, oh my gosh. For example, confidential. For example, confidentiality, informed consent, and boundaries are now standard in practice. Ayun. So, another one, from philosophical reflection to culturally adapted models. That's kasi noon, di ba, yung healing natin is guided by philosophy and introspection. Ngayon, gumagamit na tayo ng mga culturally adapted models like Filipino psychology, which considers our values like pagkapwa, pakikiramdam, and utang na loob. So, this makes counseling more relatable and effective para sa mga Filipino clients. Okay, next, from Western medical practices to ethical codes and relationship issues. Before kasi, Western medicine once dominated how we viewed mental health. Now, we recognize that relationship issues, family dynamics, and social context play a huge role in our well-being. So, counselors are trained to navigate these complexities while upholding ethical standards. Yan. Ethics. In summary, counseling psychology has gone through a long journey from ancient healing practices to modern, evidence-based, and culturally grounded approaches. So, as a future practitioners, importante talaga na maintindihan natin yung evolution na ito so that we can offer support that is both scientifically sound and culturally sensitive. Ayan. That's all, everyone. Other topics like the major themes such as positive psychology, holistic therapy will i-report na siya ng aking groupmates. Stay tuned.
We will now move forward to the major themes, which include positive psychology, humanistic psychology, integrative therapy, and holistic therapy. Hi, I am Carla Sampiton, and I will be talking about the first major theme, positive psychology. It is the scientific study of what makes life most worth living. From the term itself, positive, nag-focus siya sa inner peace, deeper meaning, and greater enlightenment. Nag-focus siya sa strengths instead na weaknesses. It's not just about repairing the bad, it's about building the good in life. Moreover, hindi lang about materialism or winning ang positive psychology. It's actually about the act of cultivating satisfaction and contentment in life. It focuses on the positive events and influences in life, including positive experiences such as happiness, joy, inspiration, and love. Positive states and traits such as gratitude, resilience, and compassion. And positive institutions by applying positive principles within entire organizations and institutions, even communities. There are 3 levels of positive psychology. First is the subjective level, which focuses on feelings of happiness, well-being, and optimism, and how these feelings transform your daily experience. Next is the individual level. Ito ang combination ng subjective level, pati ng virtues such as forgiveness, love, and courage. Then we have group level, which is about a positive interaction with your community or society. Involved dito ang virtues like altruism and social responsibility that strengthen social bonds. Now, let's meet the major contributors of positive psychology. We have Martin Seligman, the founder of positive psychology, And another case of Jermaine's Jefful na mahirap basahin, we have Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, the founding father of flow. First, let's talk about Seligman. He laid the foundation of learned helplessness, actually. And then, he became the American Psychological Association or APA president in 1998. And that was the time na gipropose niya ang positive psychology as a new subfield of psychology. It became the theme of his term. So, he introduced positive psychology because he observed na there is a big attention or so much attention was paid to dysfunction and abnormal behavior. And then, maliit lang masyado ang attention na dedicated sa happiness, well-being, and strength. And that's how positive psychology became known. We also have Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. He is the founding father of flow and also considered as the secondary founder of positive psychology. Now let's talk about flow. Flow is also an important concept of positive psychology. It is a state of intense absorption in work or an activity that one finds pleasurable. So, kapag nasa state of flow ka, grabe ang focus, concentration, or immersion mo sa isang task or activity to the point na makalimutan mo na ang time. And it is actually, hindi siya negative, it is positive kasi it is intrinsically rewarding and is an enjoyable experience. And you would want to repeat the same experience. Example nito, mga gamer na very immersed sa kanilang game. But, of course, you have to keep a limit na healthy pa rin. So, why is flow a good thing? Kasi flow involves high skill and high challenge. Kapag kasi low skill plus low challenge, that's equal to apathetic or yung parang wala kang pake or hindi mo alam anong sense ng ginagawa mo. Kapag naman low skill plus high challenge, makaka-feel ka na ma-overwhelm ka, ma-pressure or ma-stress. And then, high skill plus low challenge equals boredom. So dito sa flow, meron kang high skill and meron ka ring high challenge. And that's why you enjoy it. That's why you become immersed sa activity. Moreover, ang flow ay linked to greater happiness and well-being, mapa-academic man or career na success, as well as positive and healthy relationships. Then together, Seligman and Csikszentmihalyi published the foundational paper of positive psychology noong 2000. Now, let's proceed with another important concept sa positive psychology, which is the PERMA, P-E-R-M-A. Gipropose ito ni Seligman para ma-explain ang 5 important aspects of well-being. The P stands for positive emotions, which is about experiencing optimism as well as gratitude about your past, contentment in the present, and hope for the future. Involved dito ang joy, gratitude, hope, and peace. Then, the letter E stands for engagement. Dito naman involve ang flow. It's about achieving flow with enjoyable activities and hobbies, such as writing, gardening, deep cleaning, or even just solving a puzzle like Block Blast. Then, letter R stands for relationships. It's about forming social connections with family and friends, even with coworkers and strangers. And M stands for meaning, which is about finding a purpose in life larger than you, caring for others, activism, and social work, or community work. Yan ang mga involved sa meaning. And then lastly, we have the letter A, which is accomplishment, about goals and successes. Dito ka makakabuild ng self-trust and a sense of moving forward. Now, we will proceed with the approaches or activities na ginagamit ng positive psychology. We have gratitude journaling, which can help us recognize feelings of thankfulness and appreciation. Kasi syempre, isusulat natin sa journal kung ano yung mga nangyari sa atin, especially yung mga positive, and pwede tayong mag-look back doon, basahin ulit yun anytime we want to. Next is designing a day. Para kang mag-set ng itinerary or agenda for the day. Mag-design or gagawa ka ng daily schedule, and pwede mong i-include dyan ang healthy diet, quality sleep, adequate exercise or workout, and time for socialization. Pwede mo ring isali dyan ang tropa time, family time, bebe time, and even me time, which is also important. In that way, magiging productive ang araw mo, and pwede mo ring isali ang rest because rest is also productive. And you would know what to do with your day. You won't feel like you're wasting time. Next is practicing random acts of kindness. As we practice gratitude, we can do it by showing gratitude to others. It can have a big impact sa mood natin, hindi lang sa atin kundi pati sa ibang tao na pinakitaan natin ng gratitude, may improve nun ang araw nila. We also have mindful exercises such as meditation and yoga. It can help us decrease stress, and makakatulong din ito sa atin mentally and physically, pwede rin socially if meron tayong kasama na nagyo-yoga or meditate. And then, we also have the Values in Action Inventory of Strengths or the VIA-IS. Isa itong tool na commonly ginagamit sa positive psychology. It's actually an instrument or a questionnaire that allows people to identify their dominant strengths. That way, alam nila saan sila pwedeng mag-focus ng energy and attention nila, and mas ma-maximize or mas magagamit or ma-apply nila ang strength nila sa kanilang daily life. That way also, maiiwasan maging distracted sa ibang bagay, especially sa mga considered na weakness. And then we also have what we call the PPIs, which stands for Positive Psychology Interventions. We have strength building measures. Gina-encourage nito ang tao na i-build up palalo ang strength nila. Example nito or ma-apply ito by encouraging people to solve problems by themselves. Next, optimistic interventions. Makahelp ito mag-create ng positive outcomes by setting realistic expectations. Makahelp din ito sa mga tao na mag-focus sa kung anong positive sa situation or maghanap ng silver lining sa nangyayari. And we also have kindness boosters. Let us show kindness by not expecting anything in return. Just genuine act of kindness. For example, magbigay ng token or praise to someone else, or mag-volunteer for a cause na we care about. And we also have the empathy PPIs, which focus on creating healthy bonds. Through empathy PPIs, maka-enable tayo ng effective communication and mabroaden din ang ating perspectives kasi we get to think about other people's situations or feelings. Lastly, we have savoring PPIs. Dito sa savoring PPIs, ma-maximize natin ang happiness in the moment kasi from the word itself, savoring, ma-savor natin ang every aspect of an experience, mapa-physical, sensory, emotional, or social man. So when do we use positive psychology? According to Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine 2025, positive psychology can enrich the behavioral activation process, which is an evidence-based approach to treating depression that involves the scheduling of enjoyable and meaningful activities. So take note po, hindi lang solely positive psychology ang ginagamit to treat depression. Instead, supplemental or additional lang siya sa behavioral activation process. Moreover, positive psychology strategies can help people who are not progressing or growing in the ways they would like. So even if wala kang clinical diagnosis, you may use positive psychology strategies, especially if you feel lost, para matulungan ang sarili mo na magkaroon ng growth and progress. So, moving on, positive psychology has pros and cons. Let's start with the pros. The pros include building resilience. Siyempre, makaka-reflect ka about your strength and makaka-find ka ng meaning sa small moments. Therefore, makakatulong yun sa pag-cope mo sa stress and sa pag-bounce back mo sa setbacks or challenges in life. Positive psychology can also help strengthen relationships. Kasi even short or brief, warm interactions with other people can help you establish stronger support systems and can remind you that you are not alone, that you are heard or seen. Ganon. And then, positive psychology can help improve outlook kasi matutulungan mo ang sarili mo na to notice the good in life, and it can help you achieve balance and improve your mood. And lastly, positive psychology can boost physical health kasi ang gratitude, purpose, and optimism ay linked sa better sleep and longer lifespans. As for the cons, positive psychology can be confused with toxic positivity. This becomes a problem kasi this way, mai-ignore na yung mga bagay na kailangan i-address or i-fix. Nagiging fake positivity na lang siya, which may not be helpful. Next, it sometimes ignores context. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng sabihin mo lang na find meaning in life, find the good in life, stay positive. Kung alam mo na yung tao ay naka-experience ng or nanggaling sa poverty, trauma, or may kinakaharap na systematic barriers. It can feel out of touch or privilege. After all, not everyone has equal access to help or resources. The next 2 points are connected lang. It tends to focus on the individual and it reflects a Western worldview. Kasi much of the models and research about positive psychology centers around personal habits and traits as well as individual achievement and self-improvement. So, possible na ma-downplay or ma-dismiss ang role of community care and collective well-being. After all, we Asians are collectives. Next, it is not a substitute for professional care. Although nakakatulong naman ang practices and activities ng positive psychology or nakakasupport sila sa mental health, hindi pa rin sila replacement for professional care. Hindi sila enough para maka-treat ng diagnosis. If you are navigating depression or trauma, important pa rin na mag-reach out to a professional practitioner of psychology para din maa-apply ang sa treatment mo ang other modes of therapy. Next, merong inherently subjective interpretation ang positive psychology. Therefore, clinicians and individuals may differ in how they understand and apply its principles. Kaya nga, possible siya ma-confuse with toxic positivity. Next, excessive or forced optimism can actually be harmful to mental health. After all, moderate levels of stress and anxiety can serve a functional purpose. Kasi if nakaka-experience tayo ng stress and anxiety, as long as moderate level lang naman, makakatulong yun sa atin para mag-enhance ng alertness, mag-promote ng problem-solving skills, and makaka-contribute sa ating psychological resilience. Therefore, helping us with healthy coping and self-regulation. So that is all for positive psychology.
Okay, so hello everyone. So now let us proceed to the next topic, which is the humanistic psychology. But before we proceed to the major concepts, major tenets of humanistic psychology, let us first have a brief background on this approach. So the humanistic psychology emerged during the 1950s and 1960s within the United States. Specifically, na-attain ng humanistic psychology ang application nito during the 1960s. That was led by Abraham Maslow and his colleagues. So, bakit nga ba na-develop ang humanistic psychology? So, this approach was developed as a reaction against dun sa nakitang limitations ng mga psychologists, ng mga humanists, no, sa dalawang school of psychology, which is the behaviorism and the psychodynamic. So, first is behaviorism, no. Yung behaviorist approach, it was rejected by humanism kasi it is very deterministic. It is characterized as deterministic with focusing much on sa reinforcement of stimulus-response behavior and also heavily dependent yung behaviorism sa animal research. And then sa psychodynamic approach naman, no, same reason, it is also very deterministic with its focus on unconscious, irrational, and instinctive forces determining the human thought and behavior. Next is, ito na, we have the core principles in humanistic psychology. So first is holistic view of human nature. So ang humanistic psychology, it views individuals as whole beings, no, rather than the sum of their parts. So this approach integrates physical, emotional, social, and spiritual aspects as interconnected and essential for understanding behavior. Next is inherent goodness and potential for growth. So the humanistic psychology believes in the inherent goodness of people and their potential for self-actualization. So first is inherent goodness. So people are believed to be naturally good, but this does not mean na people cannot do wrong, but rather yung fundamental nature natin is viewed as positive, caring, and constructive. And humanistic psychologists also view ethical values, moral sense, and good intentions as innate drivers of human nature. Negative actions naman or psychological distress are often seen as results of external hardship like yung negative environments or unmet needs, not as core parts of human nature. And then we have the potential growth. So this is central to humanistic psychology, no? It is the belief that everyone has an innate drive toward growth and fulfillment na tinatawag nating self-actualization. So this means na we have this natural tendency or drive na strive to realize our fullest potential. And if people are given supportive environments characterized by acceptance, empathy, and genuine encouragement, so yung growth and positive change almost will always follow. Emphasis on personal experience. So humanistic psychologists prioritize individual experiences and subjective reality. So this approach respects personal perceptions and feelings as important components when it comes to understanding the behavior of an individual. And then also, this approach emphasizes the importance of personal experience, viewing subjective reality as central in order to understand the human behavior. The next is we have focus on present moment. So the humanistic approach also encourages living in the here and now. The humanistic psychology places strong emphasis on sa present moment, encouraging individuals to live fully here and now rather than being overly preoccupied sa mga past experiences or future anxieties. So unlike sa theory ni Freud, no, na very focus much on the past experiences. So ang humanistic psychology, it emphasizes living in here and then next is we also have the free will and personal responsibility. So ang humanistic psychology, it also emphasizes the importance of the free will and personal responsibility, suggesting that we as individuals, we have the autonomy and power to make conscious choices and shape our own lives and destinies. So unlike sa deterministic perspectives, no, that attribute behavior sa mga past events, genetics, or environmental forces, ang humanistic psychology, on the other hand, it asserts that people are active agents that are capable of self-determination. Okay, so now let us proceed to the major contributors, no, in humanistic psychology. So we have first si Abraham Maslow, which is, I'm sure kilala nyo na siya, and yung kanyang famous theory, which is the hierarchy of needs, which is a motivational theory, no, in psychology comprising of 5 levels of human needs arranged in a pyramid. So at the base, no, yung physiological needs, followed by safety needs, love and belongingness, esteem, and then finally the self-actualization. And then another major contributor is we have Carl Rogers. So si Carl Rogers naman, siya yung nag-introduce ng person-centered or client-centered therapy, which suggests na as individuals, we have the inherent capacity for self-direction and self-healing when provided with environment characterized by empathy, unconditional positive regard, and genuineness. And Third one, we have Rollo May. So, si Rollo May, he integrated European existential psychotherapy and phenomenology into humanistic psychology. So, nag-focus siya on existential themes such as yung human freedom, choice, and anxiety arising from the tragic aspects of existence, including death, isolation, and meaninglessness. And lastly, we have Fritz Perls. So, si Fritz Perls naman, siya yung nag-develop ng Gestalt therapy. So, it is a form of psychotherapy that emphasizes awareness, no, here and now experience, and the personal responsibility. So now let us proceed to the criticisms and limitations of humanistic psychology in general. So first, ang humanistic psychology, it has been criticized for its lack of empirical rigor and scientific credibility. So yung mga concepts in humanistic psychology such as self-actualization, congruence, and actualizing tendencies, so they are deeply subjective and mahirap silang i-operationalize or i-measure, no? And then another one is the humanistic psychology has been criticized for ethnocentrism kasi nag-promote ang humanistic psychology ng mga values that are aligned primarily sa Western, no, individualistic cultures. So yung mga core concepts, no, such as autonomy, individual fulfillment, and the self-actualization are deeply rooted siya in Western ideology. So hindi siya applicable sa ibang culture. And another one is the humanistic psychology has also been criticized for being overly idealistic and may not adequately account for destructive human behaviors. And lastly, it has been limited, no, kasi yung humanistic approach is less effective siya for treating severe na mga psychological disorders like schizophrenia, bipolar, yung mga major depressive disorders such as. Now, let us discuss the pros and cons, or the benefits and drawbacks of humanistic psychology when it comes to therapy. So, sa pros, no, first is we have self-acceptance. So, ang humanistic therapy, gina-emphasize ang unconditional positive self-regard and acceptance, which is important siya for increasing self-esteem and a positive self-concept. Next is empowerment. So, ang humanistic therapy, it empowers people to take active role in their healing journey by prioritizing autonomy and personal responsibility. Next, holistic approach. So, the humanistic therapy takes a whole person view. No, as I've mentioned kanina, it considers the person's emotions, thoughts, behaviors, and unique life experiences. And then, therapeutic relationship. So, sa therapeutic relationship, no, it is central in humanistic therapy. Kasi yung therapist, sila man ang mag-provide ng genuine empathy, understanding, and support na magka-create ng strong bond with clients. So, the therapeutic relationship is very important in humanistic psychology. And then, we have personal growth. So, the humanistic therapy, again, it focuses man on self-actualization and personal development. So, this can help people to uncover their authentic selves and para ma-realize nila yung kanilang full potential. So, through this process, no, people can gain clarity about their values, aspirations, and goals that can lead them to a more meaningful and fulfilling life. Okay, so now let us discuss naman the cons, no, of in applying the humanistic psychology in therapy. So while ang humanistic therapy, it offers significant benefits, no, there are also some potential drawbacks that needs to be considered. So first is limited structure. So ang humanistic psychology, no, ang humanistic therapy, I mean, it tends to be less structured than other therapy. So, there are some people na they prefer a more structured and directive approach. So, itong open-ended nature ng humanistic therapy, it might be challenging or overwhelming sa kanila. Then, next is we have time-intensive. So, achieving a meaningful and lasting results in humanistic therapy may require longer treatment duration than other
short-term therapy. So matagal ang process in this kind of approach in therapy. And then we also have emotional intensity. So ang humanistic therapy, it encourages individuals to explore deep emotions and experiences. And this can possibly trigger emotions of the client. And then, lastly, therapist dependent. So, ang effectiveness ng humanistic therapy, it heavily relies sa therapeutic relationship and the therapist's skill na mag-provide ng empathy and support. So, people may not experience the same benefit level if they do not feel a strong connection with the therapist. So, magiging useless yung therapy if ever that happens.
Hi. So, I am Jetro and I am discussing integrative therapy. Ang integrative therapy ay isang flexible at client-centered approach sa psychotherapy. Ibig sabihin, hindi lamang ito nakatuon sa iisang teorya o paraan ng panggagamot. Pinagsama-sama nito ang iba't ibang techniques mula sa cognitive, behavioral, humanistic, at psychodynamic therapy. At ang layunin naman ng integrative therapy ay gumawa ng personalized treatment plan para sa bawat individual. Depende sa kanilang pangangailangan at personalidad. Sa madaling sabi, halo-halong paraan pero isang layunin ang kabuang kagalingan ng tao. Noong 1970, bilang sagot sa limitasyon ng mga single school approaches sa psychotherapy, kasi hindi lahat ng kliyente ay naangkop sa isang teorya lang. Naapektuhan ito ng eclectic movement na nagsasabing dapat gamitin ng therapist ang pinakaaktibong bahagi ng bawat teorya. At noong 1983 naman, nabuo ang Society for the Exploration of Psychotherapy Integration o SEPI na nagbibigay ng mas formal na pakilala sa ganitong uri ng therapy. In short, ang integrative therapy ay bunga ng ideya na walang iisang paraan ang akmang-akma sa lahat. Ang core principle naman ng integrative therapy, una, personalized treatment. Ginagawa ang therapy ayon sa unique needs o personality at goals ng client. Hindi one size fit all. Ang approaches ay customized. Pangalawa, ang theoretical integration. Ito ay pinagsama-sama ng mga compatible na elemento mula sa iba't ibang teorya para bumuo ng isang cohesive framework. Halimbawa, pagsama-sama ng behavioral techniques at psychodynamic insights. Pangatlo, collaborative relationship. Sa collaborative relationship, ang therapist at ang clients ay magkasamang gumawa ng proseso ng pagpapagaling. Hindi lang therapist ang expert, pati ang client ay may boses sa proseso. At pang-apat, ang holistic understanding of the person. Tinitingnan ang tao bilang buo, kasama ang emosyonal, kognitibo, asal, behavior, at ugnayan sa ibang relasyonal na aspeto. Kaya naman, tutungo tayo sa major contributors and influence. Una, si John C. Norcross, nanguna sa research tungkol sa psychotherapy integration. Kasama niya sila Marvin Goldfried, nagsulong ng ideya ng paggamit ng empirical supported methods mula sa iba't ibang school. Si Arnold Lazarus naman ay gumawa ng multimodal therapy, isang integrative form na tumitingin sa maraming dimension ng personalidad. At si Paul Wachtel, pinagsama-sama ang psychodynamic at behavioral concept sa modelong tinatawag niyang clinical psychodynamics. And common modalities in integrative therapy. Una, cognitive behavior interventions. Ito ay binabago niya yung negative negative thoughts at maladaptive behaviors. Second, ang emotion-focused techniques. Ito naman ay tinutulungan ng clients na maunawaan at maproseso ang kanilang emosyon. At ang patlo, ang mindfulness and relaxation practice para sa self-regulations, focus at stress management. At ang psychodynamic exploration ay sinusuri ng unconscious conflicts at mga karanasan sa nakaraan. At ang panghuli ay ang humanistic approach. Dito ay nagpapalago ng self-acceptance, authenticity at personal growth. Ano naman ang mga advantage? Personalized and flexible, sakto sa pangangailangan ng bawat tao at hindi limitado sa isang teorya lamang. Comprehensive treatment, sinasaklaw ang emosyonal, kognitibo, asal at relasyon. Ano naman ang evidence-based integration? Ginagamit ang mga paraan na may basihan sa siyensya. At ano naman ang improved therapeutic alliance? Malakas ang trust at collaboration sa pagitan ng client at ang therapists. Ano naman ang adaptable across issues? Ito yung epektibo para sa anxiety, depression, trauma at iba pa. And ang panghuli ay ang encourages self-awareness and empowerment. Dito naman ay tinuturuan ang client na kilalanin ang sarili at magkaroon ng kakayahang mag-cope sa problema. Ano naman ang criticism and limitations? Ang theoretical inconsistency, ito yung panganib na maghalo ang mga ideya na hindi magkatugma. Ang training demands, ang kailangan ng therapist na malawak na kaalaman sa iba't ibang modality. Limited empirical clarity, ito yung mahirap sukatin na bisa dahil sa iba-iba ang kombinasyon ng mga techniques. Ano naman ang superficial integration? Kung kulang sa lalim ang therapist, baka maging halo-halo lang o kaysa tunay na integrated. Emerging trends. Evidence-based integration. Mas ginagamit na ngayon ang data at research para gabayan ang kombinasyon ng methods. Technological integration. Gamit ang mga digital tools, application, teletherapy para mas ma-access ang treatment. Ito yung ginagamit noong panahon ng pandemya. Ano naman ang cultural and spiritual inclusions? Ito yung mas pinahalagahan ngayon ang cultural background at spiritual beliefs ng kliyente. At ang panghuli, ang trauma-informed integration. Ito yung pinagsama-sama ang neurobiological, somatic, and psychological approach para sa holistic trauma treatment. At yun lamang po.